Welcome to the exciting world of the movies.
Welcome back to the movie graveyard. Boo and Goat hanging out with you here tonight, getting ready to fire up one of the more infamous flicks that we've talked about here in the graveyard.
It's gonna be spooky.
It's gonna be creepy. Your flesh is gonna crawl. So yeah, so we have the movie. There's like when we give you guys sync instructions, I never know like, are you guys on the DVD? Are you on the Blu-ray? Different releases for a lot of these movies. This movie has only had one release, period, point blank, and that one barely came out after the fact. So we all got to be at the same part here. We are on the MGM logo of the lion roaring. It's 4-second mark.
His mouth is gaping open in the roar.
Yeah, like look at the back. It looks like he has like cartoon tonsils back there. It's weird. But yeah, the lion's mouth is open. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, go. And when you hear me say the word go, hit play on your remote control, your PS3 controller, whatever you got. So yeah, we're going to get ready here. Everybody, 1, 2, 3, go. Look at that beautiful line.
I just looked up what ars gratia artis means.
Yeah, what does it mean?
Art for art's sake.
There you go.
I was just looking at it right now because you had it paused, and I was like, what does that mean? I've seen that logo like all my life, and I never noticed what was on it.
Yeah. So here we start the beginning of the infamous Poughkeepsie Tapes. This is a Brothers Dowdle film. They went on to make movies like As Above, So Below, Quarantine, and No Escape with Pierce Brosnan, which I like a lot. But yeah, we start out, we don't really know what's going on. We just see people going to a funeral. We saw the old-ass videotape of this, like, little showbiz girl, pretty much. Like, it almost starts out feeling like a modern Netflix film, kind of. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so I guess we should say probably not a lot of people have seen this movie, because it literally never came out, like never any official release, not even on DVD. It was slated for 2007 theatrical release, which never happened. It got as far as having trailers in theaters, but it never happened. I want to say a few years after that, they did like a really brief pay-per-view thing on DirecTV. Yeah, here you see the funeral there at night now. Somebody's dragging the corpse out, but it's all a cold open. We still don't really know who this girl is. Or
yeah, it's actually kind of interesting to rewatch it now that I've seen it, because now I know what's happening right here.
Yeah, like I was intrigued when I first saw it whatever it was, 6, 7, 8 months ago, and then I wanted to buy the copy so I could watch it again, and I have to say I liked it a lot better the second time. But anyway, eventually Scream Factory put this out on Blu-ray. Here's the title card, Poughkeepsie Tapes. I love this opening, this beautiful aerial footage. For this being like a pretty much homemade movie, this is the whatever they are, the Dowdle brothers, the Brothers Dowdle, however you want to call them. This was like their first movie. I mean, I don't know the exact budget, but I mean, it's pretty much like, self-raised finance. And what happened was they showed this movie, I believe, at the Tribeca Film Festival. And that's where MGM picked it up. And you gotta kind of, like I said, this was supposed to come out in 2007. You gotta kind of like frame it in the, the time period. This was, several years after the Blair Witch Project, of course. But it was actually before Paranormal Activity. So it's kind of funny, like a lot of people have memories of this movie because the trailers came out being a part of like the whole found footage thing. It's really actually not technically a found footage movie. It is the Poughkeepsie Tapes, like what you're watching is technically a fake documentary, which then contains some footage that the serial killer shot of his crimes. But the thing is, like, the reason I say it's really not found footage is because I'd say the actual Poughkeepsie Tapes footage, when you say probably only, takes up maybe like 20% of the movie.
Yeah, I would say it's more of like a mockumentary.
Yeah.
Not even really mocking anything, but just kind of...
Yeah.
Just a movie made in a documentary format. A dramatic documentary, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how you would label this kind of thing. Because, like, a mockumentary, doesn't that usually make fun of something? Like,
I mean, I think the term mockumentary
Where it's just supposed to be like a documentary.
Like a documentary, but the thing that's funny how you mention that is almost all mockumentaries are comedies.
Yeah.
It's kind of...
I guess that's why I kind of prefaced it with that, but... yeah, like, I would say it is more than that than a found footage movie.
Yeah. Because the majority of the interviews and, like, you know, it's basically what they would call a talking heads movie, meaning like that if a documentary is like if a true documentary was done in this style, they would call it a talking heads documentary, meaning you're literally majority of the time just watching talking heads. So here we have the house where the serial killer lived, and they're showing the landlord. She's describing where they found the tapes, and then we're getting footage of different FBI people, investigators. And this is where, like, I think the movie gets really cool. You have this female FBI lady, and they're showing, like, it's a huge backyard of this house. It's not like a huge mansion of a house, but this backyard is huge. It's like all dirt. And they're showing, like, pretty much just all the skulls that they found, like, dozens of skulls and shit they found in the backyard. And, like, I remember the first time I watched the movie, this is where I really started getting into it. Because, like, the skulls and shit, like, they look legit. They don't look like, you know, clean little plastic.
This is where, like, they purposely, like, made it so, like, epic when they shot this.
I always thought it was funny, too. Like, yeah, this is, okay, the guy who's, like, the tape archivist who went through all the tapes, he's showing all the tapes, and it's literally thousands of tapes in this giant hallway, which was weird, because I always thought that hallway looked like it was in a mausoleum.
It does look like that.
Yeah, but he's saying, like, you know, the majority of these tapes, and I mean, you just see thousands of the tapes. I mean, it looks like it's some kind of illusion. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe
they probably, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. You're doing this anyways. This is what it's for. But they probably really just, they filmed the funeral scenes at the cemetery.
Yeah.
And then they just had that big, you know, storage of videos that they needed to sprawl out somewhere. And they probably just realized, like, oh, the mausoleum has a long hallway that we can use to show, like, how many tapes there are, you know. It probably was just a convenience, out of convenience.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of like the poster, too. Like, not exactly that shot on the poster, but you can tell that shot in the movie inspired the poster because it just shows, like, all the tapes, you know. Yeah, this is where we see the first thing, and the guy says, you know, there's, like, lots of stuff on there that was strange, just like this balloon stuff. And so it's like almost like a fetish video that the guy made of this girl in her bra and panties, like, sitting on balloons trying to pop it. And it's like, almost starts out with comical, but I gotta say, this is pretty much my first and my only real gripe about this movie. Is all the videotape footage, because it's, like, very terrible quality, and I don't mean, like, terrible quality and it's, like, VHS quality. It's very fake. Like, it's obvious they shot it on probably HD something video, and then they did all these weird filters. Like, you can barely watch it. It's, like, so snowy and shitty, and like the whole picture turns green and it warbles and it warps, and it just, like, I've shot shit on VHS for years, and and then, like, you know, made dupes of dupes of dupes. Like, it never like looks like that at all. Like, you know, and these are supposed to be not even dupes. These are supposed to be his original, you know, cameras, and they show it as all VHS tapes. So, like, he, you know, it's supposed to be like he shot it on VHS. I guess you should say that these tapes and all of this, like, the way they frame it is, I think he starts, like, in around 1993 and goes all the way up through, like real early 2000, like 2001 or so. And this movie's supposed to come out 2007, so it's supposed to be set roughly about 5 years after, you know, they found the tapes and all that. And, like, this is the first real tape. And, okay, like, again, I like, we know we're watching a documentary, so, like, that's another kind of thing that's shitty about watching the tapes, is they show him, like, you know, jerking around the camera, like, shooting his feet, and just, like, you know, like, they could have cut all that out, you know what I mean? Like,
I think they were just trying to do it to not show his face, like, to, you know, make it obvious that he wasn't showing his face.
You're right.
To give a reason why nobody knows who he is.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's just hard to watch, like, from a...
Yeah, it definitely is. I kind of, at this beginning part, like, I was kind of...
getting motion sick.
Turned off. Like, I kind of have to turn away from the screen sometimes, because, I mean, we're watching it on a giant screen, and, like, it's just, like, the motion is even worse on a giant screen. So, like, yeah, at first I was kind of, like... how you were saying that scene in the backyard drew you into the movie. Like, when it came to these things, it was taking me out of it, and I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I hope the whole thing isn't like this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It eventually
but like,
wasn't as shaky.
We'll get to it later. Yeah, some of the scenes are shot more still, but like, we'll get to it later. But I think the shittiness of like all this, like, either shakiness or these bad filters they put on the video, I think because I think this little girl is like amazing. Like, she does a good job of acting timid, acting scared. Like,
I kind of think that they kind of overdid the effects like this to make it like be more creepy.
Yeah, that could be.
Because, like, you know how there's that snowy image thing that you always see in horror movies where it like looks creepy. You think something's gonna like show up on the screen. I think maybe that's why they thought it would be like an effective effect.
Like, they're trying to make it look more like a snuff film, like creepy type thing, when in reality, if he shot this on just a VHS camera, it would just look more like a home movie. And it's also widescreen.
Which is what it is.
Yeah, it's also widescreen too, which is not... So, like, it's a little confusing here. I mean, I'm going to assume that most people... Well, not most, but probably a decent chunk of people...
Oh, like this part.
Yeah, listen to this, like... So he basically, like, he hits the girl in the head with a hammer or something, and then we don't even know it, but he's actually dragging her body here. Yeah. That was the part that, like, I never understood, and it gets explained in dialogue later, because, like, the mom calls the police, and she's like, there's blood outside, and they're like, my daughter's missing, and she's like, oh, they have to be missing, or whatever, 24 hours. She's like, no, she's a little girl, and she's like, well, there's no body, no nothing. So, I mean, he actually, like, hit her and took her with him.
But it's like, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things on here that I'm kind of like, that I would say, like, how could that really happen, or how could he get away with that? Because, like, he did it out in the open.
Right.
And I was just kind of like, really? Like, nobody saw him do that to this little girl? Yeah. Like, nobody saw him dragging her away? So I'm like, oh, I guess so. But, I mean, I guess it's true, because I honestly have no idea what happens outside our house, so...
Yeah. Well, also,
I guess it is possible.
I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer chased naked men through his neighborhood and got away with it several times. Like, even when the police were called, like, he just talked his way out of it, so... Yeah, here's the 911 call. But, like, even this, like, they should just show a photo of the house. Like, instead, this is, like, some Amityville shit of some scratchy old film of their house and shit. Yeah. Like, with me, it's just, like, okay, the videotapes have to be, like, you know, shitty looking, I get it. But, like, the stuff they insert like this, it's, like, they're constantly shooting, like, stuff all shaky, or inserting pieces of video that were shaky just to kind of give us some energy. But I actually think the movie sells, like, way more realistic and better in just scenes like this where the camera's actually still. And I guess I should say that, like,
everybody, like, all of the parents and stuff, they're so, like, good at, like, how they're acting, like, so stricken with what happened.
Yeah, and, I mean, I guess we should say for people, like, not... Like, it's kind of funny because, like, I'm just guessing, like, who will, like, listen to this episode. It's going to be either probably people that saw the movie and liked it, or people who saw it and didn't like it. Because this movie is, like, a very split down the middle. Like, people either, like, love it or hate it.
Well, because, like, really, it's, like, half and half. Like, for me personally, it was my first time watching it. I didn't know what it was. I really was trying to keep you from telling me anything about it because I wanted to, like... experience it, you know, firsthand. So, like, there were, like, I'd say probably about half the movie that I thought was, like, really cool and creepy, and then there was, like, the other half that I thought was, like, super cheesy, because it just, the things that he was doing were, like, not creepy, it was just goofy, you know, so it's, like, I can see how you could be, like, on either side of, like, hating it or loving it.
And a lot of people, honestly, because there's a lot of misconceptions about why it didn't release or whatever, and a lot of people just kind of, I guess, automatically in their minds think it's because the movie was too shocking, too brutal.
But it's really not.
But it is disturbing, though, like, especially when you know what happens in the end. But I'd say what kind of helps perpetuate that myth, because like, the recent months, whatever... I'd say I watched 5 or 6 YouTube reviews of just different reviewers reviewing this movie, and it's, like, crazy, like, all the, like, different reactions. Like, some people just mock it. Like, some people say, like, the acting's all terrible and stuff. And for me, for an independent film with no known actors at all in it, I think it's pretty good, with especially a couple performances I really like a lot in it. Like, there's a couple that are kind of, like, amateurish kind of actor types, but I'd say, for me... about 90% of the acting is at the very least passable to good quality.
Well, I think, like, I don't know. I thought these people, like, this couple and, like, that little girl and then, like, those parents, like, I thought they were good.
Yeah.
I think probably, if anything, the one that has the worst acting is the actual killer guy.
Yeah, the killer guy, and I mean, we'll get to it when the scenes get to there, but the killer is kind of all over the place in his behavior, but then it gets explained in the story. I like this, like, where they show, like, you know, he basically does a selfie of him, like, strangling well, he's not strangling her, but he's knocking her out with the gas or the chloroform.
And then the one guy explains how, like,
how he did the shot.
Much of a killer he is by planning it all.
Yeah. And, like, even like this, like, I'm assuming this is, like, a real news person that they got to do this, you know what I mean? Like, it seems legit. Yeah. And, like, I'm guessing a lot of, like, this footage, like, the FBI profiler guy here, like, it's kind of funny, because for such cheap movies, I really like the way this looks. Aside from the fake videotape shit. I like this, like, very, like, this. It's a very atmospheric. Like, this guy's getting interviewed and it's raining outside. But, like, I like the quality of the film. Like, for something, I guess this movie isn't recent. It feels recent because it literally, I guess I should say that the Blu-ray/DVD combo pack, whatever, didn't come out till 2017, which would have been 10 years after the release of the movie originally supposed to release. Like, this is the only dude, I'll be honest, this is the only dude that, like, teaches the class that I find is a little bit phony. Like, he's just, like, a little too rehearsed. But, I mean, even then, he's okay.
He seems like he's trying to be, like, a villain or something.
Yeah. Like, you always think he's going to have some, like, sinister tie at the end. Because, like, the way he explains the crimes and shit. Like, he knows so much about it. But I like the little, like, maps and shit that they show. Like, those little animated maps. I really like this guy. Like, this investigator guy. Like, he speaks, like... There's a couple times where he gets dramatic with what he says, and he has pauses and shit. But for the most part, like, I kind of like how dry his delivery is.
I think he's an FBI agent.
Yeah.
So, the one thing that kind of, like... the reason why I was, like, so drawn into this movie was because... in one of my other lifetimes, I became an FBI profiler. Mm-hmm. That was, like, my dream job when I was younger. But I ended up not doing it because I knew that I would totally be, like, Silence of the Lambs and, like, totally fall for the, like, the bad guy, you know? Like, yeah. I would let them take advantage of me because I was so fascinated by them. So, it, you know, that wasn't the right career for me. But all that kind of, like, you know... analyst kind of stuff of, like, learning, like, why serial killers do what they do and, like, you know, all that, like, that's always fascinated me. So, like, this part, like, watching how people are reacting, I'm just kind of like, yeah, this job isn't for you. It's like, if you're getting all emotional about seeing this, you know, like, because, like, to me, when I see it, I'm like, I would have been sitting there like, wow, like, all fascinated by it.
Well, that's kind of why I wanted you to watch this, because I know in a lot of ways, like, this type of movie is probably not your cup of tea, but I felt like the way that this movie was done, yeah, like, here's one of his weird things was he put a head inside a corpse.
In the stomach.
Yeah, inside, like, the stomach, like a decapitated corpse, and then he puts the head in the stomach, but it turns out the head was actually a man's skull, and the body was a woman's body. So it's like, he does really weird shit, the killer. And, like, but that's why I thought you would like it, or at least be interested in it. It's because it's all about these law enforcement people trying to figure out his patterns.
Yeah. Because,
like, once they figure out the pattern of a serial killer, that usually, like, helps them catch him.
But in this case, the serial killer had no patterns. He was so weird.
Yeah. Well, it's the way they talk about it is, like, he was intentionally changing it. Yeah. He was, like, camouflaging to look like multiple serial killers. Yeah. So, like, they could never, you know, really
well, that was the body of the woman with the couple and
the married couple.
Husband's stomach, his skull was in her stomach.
Right. And, like how the guys, like, the FBI guy saying, like, they figured out there was, like, this pathway of, you know, from where they got killed and stuff. They figured out, you know, where the guy would have stopped for gas. And they have the killer, he's intentionally on camera at a gas station doing sign language telling them where to go, where the bodies will be.
Yeah.
But the thing is he's actually signed. He actually did that whole thing before he killed anybody.
Yeah.
So it's like he had it completely like planned out. And I thought it was like a lot of people, like I was saying before, the people who are like negative on this movie is there's a lot of people who I'm assuming don't watch a lot of horror movies or whatever, or maybe they do, or they just find this one too creepy. So they kind of go out there and say the movie's very disturbing. And then there's other people that, because of that word of mouth, or maybe because like the release got canceled, they think it's going to be like the most like brutal. They think it's going to be like American Psycho, where he's like, you know, with the chainsaw. So they think it's going to be like 90 minutes of that.
Yeah.
And it's really like, it does have like more disturbing shit. Like they even said like he has sex with all the bodies. Like,
yeah, they never really show all the stuff that they're saying is super disturbing. Like,
yeah.
And the scene at the beginning where the tape archivist guy is like saying, "Oh, I didn't know my wife watched half an hour of one of the movies or however long she watched."
Yeah.
And then I couldn't touch her for however.
I think
she
a
wouldn't
year,
she
yeah.
wouldn't let me touch her for a year. Like, they never really show like anything that would make you like feel that way.
Like they pretty much say it, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the budget, but then again, like, yeah, but I mean, it's I think it's even implied that he had sex with like the children and shit that he killed.
I think probably this is probably the most gruesome that you see.
Yeah, where he's burning off the fingers and shit.
Yeah, like where he's like chopping everything up and stuff. This is probably the most gory, quote unquote, stuff that's in the movie.
But I think because like some people like see it and they're like, oh, it's so disturbing. Then it ramps up other people's expectations, and then they're like, oh, you know, hardly anything happened. But to me, it's like, it's one of those things where
this guy was funny.
Yeah, this guy's almost like a comic relief, where he talks about how he takes the saw and, you know, like if you chopped up bodies long enough, you would get tired. You would just eventually get like electric saw, but this guy doesn't do it. He goes with like the old school saws, like.
But he's talking about it like he's talking about some casual thing.
Yeah.
And then like at the end of it, when he like finishes what he's saying, he's kind of like, oh, like he gets serious. Like, yeah, maybe this stuff isn't that funny, but not in a way where he's like, he's dumb about it. You know, he's just this is his job, and like he's got to be lighthearted somehow for his own well-being. You know.
Well, like, I gotta say, too, because, like, some of the people are, like, quirky and shit, like this guy. And, like, the first time I watched it, because I didn't know anything about, you know, the actual storyline of it and shit. Like, I almost expected, like, some of the people, like maybe it was somebody in the investigation, like, turns out to be the killer, which doesn't, you know, it's not the case or whatever, but... Excuse me. It doesn't turn out to be the case, but it's just, like... Some of these people, like you said, like they're very like questionable people. They're strange.
You gotta excuse our coughing on this episode. We currently have fire in the air, so
yeah,
we're just trying to breathe.
We're living in not necessarily a wildfire zone, thankfully.
This year.
Yeah, it's not close enough to threaten us, but it is, you know, at least close enough to rain ash in our town. So
it's pretty smoky outside.
It's smoky. Yeah, when I went out earlier, you could see it.
So here he's doing some more stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is he supposed to be, like, shocking them?
No, this is where...
he's measuring the sound.
Yeah, he's like...
listening in on the phone call.
Well, it's like, because this is supposed to take place earlier in the 90s, yeah, and everybody had those cordless phones. You could listen in on those very easily. Like, we had an old radio. My dad had this, like, old radio / TV thing, like, portable TV thing. And, like you could turn it on and like dial it in and it would pick up the sound perfectly of the house phones, the cordless phones.
That's weird.
I know. So yeah, but I mean, this guy has like a more sophisticated scanner, but like I don't think people really use those cordless phones anymore because like you don't have to because everybody has cell phones. But yeah, if they did, you could just drive around and do that.
That's crazy.
So yeah, this is kind of like where the real like through line. Like, they kind of just set up the movie at first, like, describing a couple of his, like, more heinous crimes or whatever. But this is where the real, like, storyline of the movie starts.
He became, like, super obsessed with this one girl.
Yeah, Cheryl Dempsey.
Woman.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, the visual... Like, there's a lot of visuals in this that, like, stuck in my head that, like, creep me the fuck out whenever they, like, pop into my mind. But, like... knowing what she looked like at the end of the movie, like, I'm realizing that that's just how she looked at the beginning too. Like, I mean, she didn't look as ravaged or whatever she does at the end, but she was still like pretty skinny and like you know, a bony looking girl.
Well, it's funny because there's like home videotapes which are really her when she's, I don't know, probably like 14 or something.
Yeah.
Usually that's when you're at your boniest and most awkward, but she actually looked more like nourished than she did. But maybe she just like, you know, because you can't like gain 20, you know, lose or gain 20 pounds overnight. Maybe she just got skinny because she knew she was going to have to play the later parts, you know.
Yeah.
But
so like this part, like, I was like probably the first time I got genuinely creeped out because we had some weird shit going on here at home.
Yeah.
And like the idea of like somebody creeping around the house, like, it hit too close to home for me at the time when we first watched this.
Yeah, the first time I watched this, like, because he just videotaped himself going through the house. Like, she's in the house upstairs, and it's, like, all dark, and he's just going around, and he gets a knife out. And, like, that scene right there where you saw his shadow, and he had, like, the big, long nose, because he has, like, the bird face on.
Like, I didn't even understand that, actually. I didn't notice it until, like, he actually came out on camera. Like, I thought that was the knife he had in his hand.
Yeah, it's the nose. Because he has and they explain it later, it's part of his character or whatever. He has
his old Frenchy mask.
Yeah. He was predicting the terror of Pennywise and the French clowns. he took the old one. But this was like kind of like my favorite moment the first time I watched the movie. Like, I really thought this was great because he goes right up to the shower that she's in, and like you think like he just might like kill her right there or something. Yeah, he picks up her panties with a knife. I mean, I will have to say, I always say this is an independent movie.
Oh my god, that's so creepy. Ugh.
I know. And like she thinks it's her boyfriend. She's like, "Yeah, is that you?" Whatever. You know, and the boyfriend like does come in pretty much.
Because I mean, honestly, think about it. Like, you would never know if somebody was really doing this. You know, like, just living your normal life in your house, you know, like, this part here, I was kind of confused, like, where he was hiding, because there's not really anywhere to hide in that little bathroom from the guy.
Oh, when the guy comes in?
Yeah.
It's just, like, he just goes to, like, I'm guessing, like, the way the shower, or the tub, or the shower curtain is, he just goes, like, on the edge of it. He kind of just hides behind the shower curtain.
I don't know. I thought that part was weird.
But it's also too like the guy just came into the bedroom and walked in and out.
No, he's setting it up.
Yeah, he sets the camera up in like a bookshelf. Which, like, if he's using like straight up VHS, like that camera's gonna be huge. How would they not notice like a giant VHS camera?
What did you just do right there?
With the thing. Oh, yeah, he goes and he throws, like, her clothes around. That's why she asks, like, hey, why did you throw my clothes, whatever.
Oh. I thought she said, why did you clean it up the first time? Because she can't find anything.
Yeah. Well, he straight up stole them panties.
Yeah. See, like, I can see him.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I was always, like, this part. This was probably the first time that I was like, like...
Yeah, this was my favorite part, because, like, the boyfriend comes in with the... Well, I think that's, like, what makes it creepier, is, like, he's just right there. The boyfriend comes in and with some beers, and they start drinking beer. And, like, you see the killer with his eyes wide shut bird mask. His plague mask, he's, like, in the closet, like, he didn't even close it all the way, it's still cracked open, and, like, you can see his mask, like, back in the shadow.
But I meant when she was facing the closet, like...
Oh, yeah.
It was so obvious that he was standing there when she was facing in that direction. I was like, oh my gosh.
I think it's, like, one of those things where it's, like, yeah, it's, like, if you're really not expecting anybody to be there, like, you can totally see him right there.
Yeah.
Like, he's just totally peeping out. But, I mean, I don't think he really gave a shit if they did see him. I mean, he just would jump out. He's got the knife, you know?
So now we skipped forward to later that night.
Yeah, he just, like, waited in the closet for a while. This is pretty much what was supposed to happen to Sonya Deville earlier this week.
Oh, God, I read about that.
Yeah, like, it's pretty much exactly what happened to her. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. That like these movies, like whatever, as horrific as they could be, fiction, they could be real too.
Yeah.
That shit happens to real people.
That's what I'm saying. Like after the weird stuff that we thought was happening, like
Yeah.
Luckily, it seems like that's not what was happening, but still.
Yeah. We thought we were getting scoped out for a home invasion. Thankfully, it turned out to...
It was a lost doggy.
Yeah. Now, this is where I think it gets really creepy, because, like, they're sleeping on the couch, like, I was, like, the first time I seen this movie, like, this whole sequence of him being in the house, like, this is definitely the most tension-filled part of the movie, because, like, he's so close to them, like, all the time.
I know. And it's like, he's making some sort of noise when he walks.
Oh, yeah.
He's not completely silent.
I mean, you can't see, like, perfectly out of that fucking giant-ass bird nose mask. Like, you gotta be bumping into some shit.
Yeah, that too. This part here was where, like, the first time I was kind of like, okay, buddy, you're not getting away with this. Like, he's, like, right there, like, out in the open, and, like...
Well, you gotta think too. Like, I could buy, like, if there was just a guy like crawling around, I could buy a guy like ducking, like, hiding behind the couch.
He's getting up and following him.
Yeah, but when you gotta think that he's got a giant ass VHS camera and like he's always like right there filming it.
Yeah, this was the first time where I was kind of like, this is unbelievable.
It's a good scene though, because like you can't really tell like what happens when he attacks the guy. Like you think like he like maybe kills him here, but he really just knocks him out or whatever.
Well, in this part he does, but then it turns out that all his like entrails were like...
Yeah, he does all kinds of shit. This is a great chase scene, the way she slipped. Yeah. And it looked believable. Like, it looked like it wasn't even like she slipped and like bust her ass. Like, she almost did the splits.
He's like beating the shit out of her.
Yeah, so like, he's beating the shit out of her, but you don't even see it. You see the shadow against the wall. And like, again, this is like good filmmaking, I think. Because you see like his shadow, his bird mask shit. And you see like him punching her. I don't know, just like the shadows. Seeing it happen in the shadow, I think is kind of creepier than if you saw it for real.
Yeah, you can see what's happening.
Yeah.
This I thought too was weird that they put music on the videos.
Yeah,
why is there music on there?
They put music on the videos, and it's like, okay, it's a documentary, whatever.
Yeah, like he doesn't have music playing.
Yeah. That'd be really fucked up if he also brought like a boombox to play his scary music, and they were just like, why is there horror music playing? Oh, I don't know. I thought this was interesting. They showed the girl's friend that like knew her for like days, like knew her for years and stuff, but she has like this weird like hat on, and like I was like, is this character supposed to have cancer or something?
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, but they never like really say anything about it. Yeah. But the friend says that she talked to the girl, Cheryl Dempsey, and Cheryl had said that she felt like she was being watched. Yeah. So, and I think this is like pretty like good. Like here, this visual.
The first of the real actual creepy shit that he did.
Yeah, because he's got her hogtied like on this. I guess it's like a coffee table, and they show him with his bird mask on and. He's got like a cape on, but it's weird. It also looks like he's wearing like pajama bottoms and shit, like striped pajamas.
See, like some of like just the like way he's acting, like I don't know, like that first thing that he did when he came over, like was hovering over her and was like, oh, like he was like, blowing his load. I was just kind of like, okay, like it's like nothing was happening and he was getting off on it. Like it was just so, I don't know.
See, but like I find this disturbing because he's giving her like donkey punches and shit. He's like punching her in the side of her thighs.
Donkey punch?
Yeah, but I mean, like
she's
but she's like hog-tied and everything. He's like fully controlled, like.
No, but like this, like it's too over dramatic. Like,
well, the investigators even say like when he like knew he was like recording, like when he was appearing on the film, he got like very like theatrical. Yeah, that's what they call it.
I know. But it's just to watch it and not know that yet. It was just kind of like, what is this guy doing?
And like for some reason, I guess because it's like supposed to be night vision mode, like that part's in black and white, and like I kind of like that scene because it kind of like
it really does look like a snuff film on that part.
Well, it kind of reminded me like almost like they're like paying tradition homage, whatever, to like the classic, like, old, like, the really old, like, Nosferatu type, like, black and white type horror movies, you know what I mean?
So here the guy's explaining what happened to the guy.
Yeah.
He was cut up from his butthole to his face.
Yeah, he was slit from his anus to his throat. And
what was in the sock drawer? You didn't get shit. Something was in the sock drawer.
The guy's like, I can't remember his testicles or his penis. Yeah, like the guy was just. So I mean, he totally butchered the shit like that. But I have to say, like, I don't know, like I almost think like you got to think if this really was a real documentary, like they wouldn't show you the most gruesome shit. You know what I mean? Like in a documentary. So it kind of is more realistic, like that they have. I mean, it probably helped them keep the budget down too, obviously, and obviously too, if you showed all that shit, you get like an NC-17 rating, you know.
But are documentaries rated?
I mean, if you want to play in a theater, they are. You know what I mean? And like this was clearly supposed to play in a theater because like there's even the scene later that like where this is weird too. Like they find a mime to explain like the bird mask. And, like, I thought this guy was, like, because the way his, like, face is painted around the eyes and the chin, I thought he was going to, like, put the mask on to, like...
no, it's not a mime, it's just the way that style of actor was in the, like, Commedia dell'arte or whatever it was called. Like, it's just one of those old-timey actors, and that's how they did their makeup, because they're meant to be seen from far away in the amphitheaters, so...
But you know what I'm saying? Like the way the mask would fit on your face.
Yeah.
Like it looks like that guy was getting ready to put it on. Like, But what I was saying before was like this was meant to play in theaters because that one investigator guy says like, oh, when you finish your documentary here, if it ends up playing in a theater, he'll go see it because he has to. You know what I mean? So it's like. Yeah, like I mean, as low budget as this is, because like you know they went legit with it, putting in Tribeca Film Festival or whatever. Like they were trying to get in theaters, and then you know, like I kind of wonder because there was a lot of shit going on with MGM at the time. I don't think it was strictly like this movie. Like they were like, oh, we can't like because MGM wanted to pull the whole hoax shit. Is what the guys were saying. Like they wanted to pass it off as being real. And I don't know if it's just like they lost their nerve, you know.
Oh my gosh!
Like here she gets dunked in her head, dunked in this. Like she's back at his house now, being held captive. Yeah, she gets her head put in this like dirty ass wash tub shit. And but I don't think it was just the studio like losing its nerve. Like I don't think it was the actual movie itself. I think it was just like. MGM was having financial problems and they couldn't afford to put any movies out at the time, really.
Yeah, like... Yeah, it still doesn't even say what she's saying. Oh, there she said it. Like, a lot of the thing that I don't like about, like, modern horror movies now is, like, they always have a woman, like saying stuff while she's crying. And, like... I can't understand what she's saying, and like, but the person is like talking back to her like he understands what she's, or like the murderer understands. Usually a man, like he understands what they're saying, and I'm kind of like, I don't know what's happening in this scene right now. Like, I kind of got that feeling from this. Like, it kind of took me out of it a little bit because she was just like, like when he was like saying, say it, and like I couldn't tell if she was saying it or not or whatever because we weren't watching it with captions the first time, but. That's another thing that kind of kept taking me out of this movie because I think there's like a couple scenes like that where she's just like cry talking, then I don't understand what she's saying.
And like obviously the audio is a little rough on those scenes because it's supposed to be from like just the microphone that was on the camera or whatever. It can't be too. And also too like. For whatever reason, the Blu-ray is only stereo, so like I had it like up mixed to like be surround sound. And it was annoying me because every time they cut in the video parts, they put in like this hard like like static shit. I hated that because it was just like sounded so terrible in the speakers and it was so loud. It just fucking hurt my ears. Yeah. He like what was that shit there with his palm? He was like threatening to like judo punch her in the face.
Palm her in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, but, like, I know people kind of, like, laugh at this shit, but I'll be honest, like, my favorite scenes are the ones where he's got the bird mask on or the gas mask. Like, I think it's cool that, he's actually got, like, a killer persona.
Yeah. I think just what makes it a little weird looking is the cape thing, but I mean that's part of. They showed the picture of the character that he's trying to be, so this part is like ballsy as fuck.
This part really stretched belief because like they're showing like the police crime scene, whatever, and they're showing Cheryl's mom, and he videotapes like he goes back to the crime scene and he goes up, and like first you think she would be like, "Why the fuck are you videotaping me?" But like. He's just like, oh, if there's anything I can do, whatever. And then, like, he starts, like, giggling and acting creepy. And then
No, he's just standing there. He's not leaving. And then she's like, wait a minute. Like, because he's, like, being all weird.
Yeah.
Now he's laughing.
And then he just runs away. I mean, like, again, I feel like that scene could have kind of been, like, you know, framed or filmed, like, a little bit better to be, like, less whatever. Like, But, yeah, like, I like the moment afterwards when the mom says, like, you know, like, I play that scene, you know, because, like, he intentionally never shows his face, like, on the camera or whatever, but then he straight goes up to, like, to the mom, and, like, that's how they get the little, like, how they show the possible suspect, you know, composite drawing. Like, it just, I don't know, it seems, like, I mean, I could see him wanting to taunt the victims or whatever like that, but that just seems, like, so... like unlike his character.
Yeah. Of never wanting to be on camera, and then all of a sudden he's like, here I am.
Yeah. And like the videotape guy, I can't remember if he said it at the beginning or maybe says it later, but like out of the thousands of tapes, because they're just numbered sequentially.
Yeah.
That there's like 27 of them missing, so like that's kind of like a little carrot they dangle out there. Like, and the guy says, you know, maybe it's just, you know, these tapes gave away his identity.
Yeah.
Maybe there were things that were too personal for him. He didn't want anybody to see, whatever. Because he intentionally left the tapes behind. Now, what did you think about this? Like, now he's like pretty much grooming her and brainwashing her, like, the whole time. And now he has, like, what would you call it? Like a German fucking beer garden waitress or something.
Remember. There's, like, a name for them, but I can't remember. I just...
Fucking Fräulein or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, he puts her in it and you think, like, oh, it's going to be, like, some kinky sexual shit. But then he makes her wear, like, a weird,
mask. Like,
a weird mask of
I didn't understand what that was.
Like, of a girl. It's just, like, a weird blank girl mask. It'd be like if Michael Myers was a girl. It's just, like, some white-ass face with a wig on it.
But it's like he was so obsessed with her, I don't get why he'd want to, like, have her cover her face.
I think he was probably, maybe it was... Dirndl?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew it had a dl to it, but I didn't know, like...
It's German, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the girls that bring you the giant beer steins in the beer hall and shit.
Yeah, because the guys wear the lederhosen and the girls wear dirndls.
It's midnight. I'm chugging Red Bull and watching Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm getting crunk.
I can't believe I'm rewatching this.
It's awesome.
We're gonna have to watch some Disney movies after this,
Yeah.
so I can not be creeped out.
Turn on some Disney Plus. Oh, the reporter's name is Jennifer Griswold.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, how we were saying before, like, the killer...
Now he's starting his new plan of killing prostitutes.
Yeah, he constantly changes his M.O. And, like, his current little run of murders he's doing is killing prostitutes. But he's doing it in a way where he's impersonating a police officer. So, like, he's leaving witnesses saying, like, oh, so-and-so got arrested, you know, and then they died. So, like, he's kind of, like, framing it that, you know, there's a killer out there pretending to be a cop or whatever.
This shot here looks really creepy because her eyes are all, like, glassy-eyed and...
Yeah.
And the mouth is moving and her eyes are all crazy. Like, and her eyelashes, you can see them. Oh, my gosh. They're so weird looking.
Yeah, I gotta say, this actress who... plays the girl being tormented the whole time. I think her real name is, I'm not mixing it up with the character name. I think her real name is like Stacy Chbosky, and she's actually married to one of the directors. And like in his later movies, he just gave her like small parts. But like I think she's really good. I think she should not just her husband. I think other people should have hired her. Well, I guess it's probably not people's fault because, like I said, this movie never really came out.
That girl was trying to escape.
Yeah. So, like, he brings other girls and tortures them and, beats them and stuff. And, like, she has to watch and stuff. And then eventually he makes it so she has to participate too. But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This
I totally didn't expect this part, like,
yeah.
of what happens at the end.
Yeah. So basically he ties...
That was pretty gruesome.
Yeah, he ties this woman up to this post, and then he makes Cheryl, the girl, he keeps hostage, he makes her actually go and slit the girl's throat. And she does it, and it's like... It's actually a good moment, because like when she does it, you can see how like scared she is. She just like slits the girl's throat real quick.
Yeah. This is your punishment. Why? She didn't do anything.
Yeah.
She's tied up. She was trying to tell the girl, you don't go.
But like, I totally get why some people like, they're really like not into this movie, or they don't really take in completely the story. But I think if you're really willing to give this like a second, or like even like right now, this is my third time ever seeing it. Like here, like she slits her throat. Like I think if you just kind of see it a couple times, and like yeah, some of the stuff is like shocking when you see it. But like if you think more about, like I was saying, like the story part of it, and then they establish that he bites them, and then he cuts off the chunks of flesh so he can't identify the bites or whatever. And
this was probably one of the weirdest things of this movie too that would like throw me off when I would like be all into it, was like all of the like doctors and stuff were like all foreign people
with like thick accents and
it
stuff.
was so strange. I was like, okay, like why would they, somebody, I don't know, I just thought that was strange.
Yeah, because none of the investigators or anything are like that. But
yeah, like all of the agents and the police officers were all like white people, really, and then all the doctors, except for the dismemberment guy, they were all foreign.
Yeah,
I mean, they weren't all even like like any kind of brown foreign, because I think there's one that sounds like he's like Swedish or something.
yeah.
But I don't know. Like I just thought it was so strange that all the medical doctors were foreign.
Now here we have almost like I thought this was interesting. They chose to go down this route, like they have like a phony, fake like serial killer cameo of Ted Bundy here, and it's like some obvious like they shot it. It's not like real.
Is it Bundy or Dahmer?
No, it's Ted Bundy.
Oh,
it's like archival footage, because they're comparing the killer's MO to what the guy is. He's comparing basically this killer to Bundy, and like going back to this video of when he interviewed him, whatever. Because this is where like they're talking about the whole going back to have sex with the body. Ted Bundy did that. He kept going back to the bodies over and over to have sex with them and stuff. But I just thought it was funny that they're like, "Ooh, we'll put it in Ted Bundy camera," and like you can't see the guy's face, like nothing. It's like it's like overhead footage of two guys talking. All you can see is the top of their heads.
When we were watching it, I was like, "Is this really supposed to be it?" It was so weird. Like it was such a like
phony
random
thing.
awesome cameo.
Yeah, now here's the scene where
these stupid little girls. Why would you go inside the house?
But see, like, just scenes like this that make you uneasy, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think if people kind of give this movie a second or, chance or whatever.
Because it's really what kids would do by themselves, Like, he tells, I'm a policeman, so it's like, why wouldn't they, like... I mean, they are a little, like, weird, like, I don't know. But then they, they fall for it still, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
I know. But I think if you kind of let this story, and like you said, because there's a lot of the more gruesome parts that are just talked about, they're not really shown.
Yeah.
If you let kind of like the total picture, and it's like, I'm not saying the movie's perfect. There's some stuff that doesn't exactly connect or add up, but if you just take in the whole picture and like really absorb it, like of what this guy was doing and what he pulled off, like I think the movie is very. It seeps into your brain and, like, stays with you afterwards, like, of interesting. Like, that's what made me, like, after I rented it, that's made me want to be like, oh, I want to buy a copy of this so I can, watch it a couple more times.
I thought it was funny how the one girl was, like, downing that drink, and then the other one, she never drinks it.
No, she just holds it, yeah.
That one drinking it, like, she's, like, all about, like... Which first she's, like, the suspicious one, but then she just immediately drank the drink.
Yeah.
And the other one was the one that was always like, okay, like she was all, like, had no problem.
Well, it's like, obviously this is, like, because we saw him murder the other little girl earlier, so we know that, obviously it's like, usually that's like the...
I for sure thought there was something in the drinks.
Yeah, that they were going to, like, fall asleep and pass out or something. Yeah, so I mean, he's like definitely capable of killing Stuart, and he's totally like asking them types of questions like, does your mom know where you are and stuff, and like the one girl is like very cautious and guarded, and the other girl is like, no, nobody knows where I am, blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's no raccoons around here. She's like, you're stupid, man.
Yeah, because they're actually hearing like the girls like crawling around downstairs.
You
or whatever.
Want to go to the basement? Sure. And the other girl's like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
It's funny.
I'm curious how Netflix would handle this scene if they were making this movie. They would probably want to sex it up quite a bit, and make it erotic, some fashion. But yeah, but again, like I like it. There's like another movie that kind of
mark him off. She's like, we're never come here again.
Yeah, because like there's too much noise coming from the basement. He's like, you know what? Never mind. I can't buy any cookies today. So he kind of lets him escape. But then we find out the coffee table is just a box that Cheryl Dempsey is like kept under.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great like weird twist, Like when you see it, like you think it's all about the girls, but then like you don't realize like the other Cheryl is like right underneath there in the box.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when we watched it the first time, I didn't even catch that he pulled the thing off there where they were sitting.
Because it's not really a table, it's just almost more like a cardboard box with a sheet over it.
Wasn't it just her?
Yeah, it was just her.
She was holding it up?
Yeah, maybe it was just a sheet. I thought it was more like a box or something, but... Because he pulls it off so quick, it's her. So this is like... We're going back to this current case of these prostitutes getting killed, and the guy's just explaining here that they kept finding sperm, like the same sperm or whatever, like on all these prostitutes' body. And this one cop's talking about it matched his partner, actually, his police partner, Jim Foley, this guy. And, like, pretty much, like, he lines up. He was always, like, in the towns or whatever where the murders happen. So, like, again, like, this is, like, another part where I give this movie credit. Yeah, and, like, they find jewelry and blood and shit that match the prostitutes. So, like, the killer totally, like, framed this guy. And, like, I mean, I think even the first time you watch this, you know that this is a frame job, obviously, because,
But I don't know, like, I wasn't sure because, like, they found all that stuff and, like, they changed the story from even mentioning the other guy anymore to just this guy and showing his son. So I was kind of like, well, I guess it was him because it's, like, It kind of makes you think it is because... Then the guy never has a response to anything. He never tries to defend himself. Like,
yeah.
And then and then like when they show him like getting killed, like he doesn't want anything. He doesn't want prayers. He doesn't want his last meal. He doesn't want anything. So it's like, I guess he is really crazy, and it was him. Like so. I thought it was kind of misleading.
Yeah, like, the only thing is kind of... I mean, they do, I guess, if you're kind of, like, taking it at face value, it does kind of seem like, okay, this guy was the killer, but it's
and all this, like, the prostitute saw him, and, like, I don't know, it just seemed so convincing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure in a way, too, like, he probably picked to frame a guy that looked kind of like him, you know what I mean? Like, like, if they seen somebody similar. Yeah, I think even the first time I saw this, though, I was like, this guy isn't really the killer, though, because, like, this guy got away with how many murders?
I mean, I kind of figured it wasn't him, but at the same time, it was, like, like, the way it's playing out with the son and everything. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like that was the direction they were going to go. And I didn't know how far into the movie we were at this point. I wasn't really paying attention, so I didn't realize that there was still time. It wasn't gonna end soon. Yeah, this is getting towards the end. I should say this is a really short movie. It's only like 80 minutes. I think we're probably around the 60-minute mark here. But I had to say another one of my favorite things about this movie was actually the son that they keep showing. Yeah.
Talking about, like nobody would have guessed, like, my dad would have been this killer or whatever. And they did pick a guy who looked kind of like Weasley and scary or whatever. Kind of looks like a... What's that guy's name? Jackie Earl Haley type.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's good, though. Like, it seems real. Like, they cut in a lot of actual real footage of, like, demonstrations and crime scenes and shit here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one of the things I really liked about the movie first time I seen it was I really liked the guy's son. Like, you know, the little bit he's in it, he seems like I don't know, like just kind of like a fucked up haunted guy. And it's
his dad was fucking killed for no reason.
yeah. And here it goes into a reenactment of his dad getting the. This was kind of funny the way it's like framed up, but it, like they show like this like good reenactment, and then like it's really good, like the quality of the film, like the shots and everything, and
this was creepy too. Like,
yeah,
hearing all
the audio recording of the execution, and like while this reenactment of the guy going to the gas chamber, or not the gas chamber, but the lethal injection chamber, they cut in all these crime scene photos that are like really haunting of like what the guy supposedly did, but then they kind of blow it where like they end the scene with just showing that weird like videotape of the girl bouncing on the fucking balloon over her. Like it's just really kind of goofy. It's like, okay.
I think they're just trying to show how, like, even though all this was happening to this guy, like, the guy was still doing his murders and shit, or doing his torturing and all that.
Yeah. But, it's kind of funny, like, when you buy the movie, because it's like a Blu-ray DVD set, the Blu-ray has, like, a picture of, like, that one, like, guy who's talking in, like, the armory or whatever with all the weapons around him, but the DVD... actually, which is how I originally saw it. Netflix, for some reason, only had the DVD. But the DVD actually has a picture of the guy's son, like, looking all haunted and scared on it. I thought that was a cool little shot, though. Yeah, like the balloon popping. They finally show the girl pop the balloon with her butt. I don't know, it's just goofy. But I like that one little shot they did before when he's laying there. Did you notice, like, super quick, all of a sudden they cut in, like, a shot of, like, him laying there with the bird mask on?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and they totally, you know, playing the, and they say James Foley died by lethal injection, 12:24 in the morning, September 9th, 2001. So, like, think about that. They execute him September 9th, 2001, and then basically what happens in the story is the killer outs himself to be like, oh, by the way, you dumbasses, you killed a totally innocent guy that I framed. Yeah, because the cop says when I got home, there was a map in the mailbox. It says missed one. And then his phone rang. He says, oh, you got to get down here, see this, whatever. Another body. That's what they're saying. Like, you know, like pretty much he stopped killing while they had that guy on trial.
And then he's watching all that stuff play out on the TV in the bar.
Yeah. Like he's he's in a bar. Yeah, he's actually in a bar videotape watching the news report. But yeah, I thought that was genius because like that pretty much is like...
oh, I guess it's not a bar. He's at home.
Oh, yeah, maybe. It did look like a bar. That's weird, yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's like whenever they catch somebody who they think is a killer, and they're like, oh, the killing's stopped, so it's got to be him. Like, he pretty much pulled that fucking trick on him. Yeah. Here's one of your another foreign doctor guy. Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. And it turns out... I think it's funny too that you know, all the evidence was obviously planted, but then they're like, well, how do you get the guy's semen? And the guy's like, I don't know, he must have gone to a fertility clinic a couple years before or something. So yeah, but this is my favorite part of the wrap of the story is like the guy's son, all sad. And they talk about, you know, they did put out a retraction in the paper saying, like, you know, they killed an innocent man. Yeah. But they did it the day after 9/11, so it got, like, a tiny news story in the back. Nobody saw it. I thought that was a great story point. I thought that was actually kind of the best point of writing in the entire movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because it's believable.
Yeah.
There was nothing else that existed.
Well, it's always like that, too, when there's, like, a front page headline news, and it turns out they have to retract it later or whatever. Like, the retraction or the correction is always, like, way better. This guy's eyes are awesome, though. Like, he's like a reporter guy. He's got, like crazy, they're like doll eyes.
Seems like he's partially blind.
Yeah, it could be part blind. I think it's funny that they have, like, a giant blow-up of the newspaper behind him, though. Yeah. Like, on an easel.
Yeah. I think they were just doing that because they had that with the tape archivist too. He was playing the videos.
Yeah. So like we're pretty much now going into the home stretch, like the last 20 minutes of the movie, and it kind of will then go into kind of how all it wrapped up, how they got the tapes, and then what happened with the Cheryl Dempsey character. But I actually thought this was like kind of the best acting moment. Like they cut to another tape of when he was doing the thing, driving around pretending to be a cop. He picks up this lady.
But that's the thing, like the way he explains it to her, he isn't trying to be a cop,
No.
to pretend to be a cop. He just goes with the assumptions that people make.
Yeah, because this lady's car broke down. And he just pulls over and be like, "Oh, whatever, how you doing?" And she's basically like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "I could take you to a gas station," and she's like, "Okay." And he's like, "Oh, I got all that shit in the front here. Can you just get in the back?" Because he's got the back like all wired, like a police car, like a wire barrier. You can't cross whatever. So if you get in the back, you're stuck back there. So she gets in, and she's all like, "Oh, thank you, officer. If you hadn't come along or whatever, I've been in trouble." And he's like, he starts fucking with her mentally. He's like, "Oh, what made you think I was an officer? I never said I was." And then she starts getting scared. And like, again, this is where I think like they overdid like the fake fuzzy shit. Because it kind of like obscures. Like, I wish you could, there's already the wire shit in front of the lady's face anyway. Like, I wish you could see her more. Because this lady, I think, is a very good actress. Like, the moment she starts getting played scared and starts begging for her life and, basically saying, "Let me out, I won't tell anybody." And he's like basically like he like cuts a deal with her, like, "Okay, well, you know what, like I'll let you live, but like, we're gonna pull over somewhere and like I'm gonna rape you." Like, and then she agrees to it. So obviously he would never honor that deal. He's gonna kill her no matter what. But it just like to see her agree to it and everything, like just like the total mental manipulation of a person, degradate, because he's totally into degradation, all the stuff he does to Cheryl too. It's like, I don't know, like I just think this movie it has a lot of psychological stuff going on in it that, like, if you actually take the time to think about it, it's like, it's more disturbing than just like,
I thought police liked it when he called them that.
Yeah. Where he says, "Yeah, but I'm not a cop." But it's just more disturbing than just like somebody in a costume hacking up teens, or, it's to me, we're a clown just eating kids or whatever the fuck, like, because like this is totally like,
this is about people.
Yeah, this is totally about like the human monster, and I know there's a lot of movies that explore that too, that just people are the worst kind of monsters at all and all that. But
well, I truly believe that humans are the worst, like, because we're the only beings on this planet that have logic, like animals don't use logic, and like, a human's brain can really stretch far to do like heinous things, and we are the only ones that do that. So, that's what made this super creepy to me.
Yeah, like, I think, I like the movie as it is, and, like, I actually do like the scenes, where you see him in the mask doing shit, but I think if it was really just more just, like, straight up, like, even if they didn't show him physically killing anybody, if it was just more straight up dramatic scenes like this of him, like, mentally fucking with people, I still think the movie would still work, like, very well as a horror movie, Because, like, some of, like, to me, like, this scene... Because I kind of forgot about the scene, in all honesty, since the first time, like, I watched it. And then when we rewatched it the other night, I was like, damn, like, this scene's, like, so fucking good.
Because it's like, when you're in that situation, like, she's fucking trapped in there. Like,
yeah.
It's like you can see on her face the thoughts that are trying to come, like, the realization of what her situation is, like, on her face, like... She's just stuck, and like now she's doing basically having her life flash before her eyes when she's talking about her family and all that, and now she's moving on to the next stage of she's just scared and in denial that this is happening. And, like, you can see all of the phases of like what's happening to her go through her face, even with this darkened,
shittiness.
Situation. Yeah, like
shitty VHS fake shit.
Yeah, and it's true. It's like how would you react if you were stuck in this little box, like, and you had no control over what was about to happen? Like, it's scary.
Yeah, I almost think you could make like if you were like making a horror movie that really didn't worry about being commercial or having a whatever exciting positive payoff. I almost would think you could like take this scene here and turn it into like a good 80-minute movie.
See, I think that's why they did all the weird distortions, because the people look weird when they start getting like all emotional and stuff. I think that's why they thought it would be a good idea to add all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think, too, it's just, I don't know, just very hard to replicate, And I guess we should say, right? I'm trying to think. Yeah, this was definitely after, like, Saw and stuff, and, like, Jigsaw always had those videotapes that, like, were all fuzzy and weird looking, Like, maybe they're trying to, like, steal that, concept a little bit. Okay, this is where we get into like the weird like Silence of the Lambs-esque type Buffalo Bill shit.
Okay, but this is one of the scenes that like mentally like fucked me up. Like this, it looks so fucking creepy to me. Like the way he's walking and then the way the head is on his head and like it just, and how he's going so slow and, like, weird. Like, oh my god, like, it looks so gross to me. Like, I don't know why. It's, like, it's so strange looking to my eye. Like, it's almost like they kind of did some kind of effect to make him look all long and skinny or something.
Yeah. Because they showed this, I think this is kind of like the money shot after the, the end of the trailer. So he's basically walking on his hands and feet.
Oh my god.
And you see, like, he has a mask on, but what you're seeing is actually the top of his head with just a white, like whatever mask on, and then underneath it, on his actual face, he has the bird mask on, and then he has like these things on his fingers, these needles. I always think you could cut the scene like right there, and it would still be good. But he has these things on his like middle finger and his finger, and he jams them into this lady's throat that's like tied up, and then she just starts bleeding out of her mouth and shit. But yeah, that walk into the room,
that honestly, like that's creepier than this to me.
Yeah,
because it's just such a weird, strange visual. Like, ugh. I don't know. Like
they totally do like they don't do a commentary track on here, the directors, but they do like about a 15-minute interview to talk like about some of like their whatever experiences making the movie, and like like I don't know who owns the rights or whatever, but like I mean, this is not a spoiler if you're listening to this, you've seen the movie before, because the killer just gets away at the end. I really think like, especially now that it's like decades later or whatever. Because, I mean, the movie was supposed to come out in 2007, but, like, most of it, what they're documenting concludes, like, around 2001, 2002-ish, I'd say. I think you could totally, like, because it's almost, like, 20 years since that time period. I think they could do an awesome sequel to show what the guy's been doing, like, the last, like, 18 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, basically, this guy is reading a bunch of different profiles of serial killers, and they're, like... It's so hard. He's trying to explain how hard it is to understand what the MO is of this guy, because there's all these that have all these MOs. They're black, they're white, they're organized, they're not organized. They plan things, they don't plan things. They're messy, they're clean. Like, you can't really like point out any specific motive for anybody when there's all these different kinds of serial killers. Like so he's basically trying to say it's hard to figure out who he is.
Yeah, because he changes shit up so much that no profiler can really, accurately document it or whatever. But like we're kind of like getting into like he led a trail of breadcrumbs to lead to his house, which was he had cleaned out. He left. Like this is the guy whose picture they put on the Blu-ray. I think it's this guy. I think it's like this shot right here, and like I don't get why this guy's like in one scene of the movie.
He's
like,
probably like the fakest of everybody. We dropped the hammer on him.
Yeah, he's bragging. But I mean, wherever this place is, I'm thinking it's just a movie like armory where they got like prop guns.
Did you see there were like hundreds of handguns?
Hundreds of handguns. But see, like the SWAT footage it's like some fake VHS type shit too. But like, I think this is, but it's not like all wavy and shit. Yeah. I think this is how the rest of it should have looked. In all honesty, like it's shitty looking, but you can still see basically. It's not turning green and doing all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah. So he emptied his house out.
Yeah. But like, I was gonna ask you, like, first of all, like, do you think I had a good hunch in like kind of exposing you to this movie, like, because I know you like stuff that's really psychology based and whatnot. Like, did you get anything out of it as being like a psychological movie?
Well, I like this guy honestly, like,
yeah,
him and the other guy that was like reading all the profiles.
Yeah, the two like FBI guys.
Yeah, I liked their stuff that they were talking about. But it's kind of weird because it's like, I don't know, there's something disjointed about the storytelling to me for this movie because, like, I don't know, like, I feel like the way the guys are talking about him, those agents, that this is where they find her.
Yeah, and she's underneath, like, the fake coffee table. I guess it was, like... Well, that's more like a coffin that he left her in. Yeah. So, like, he intentionally, like, let them find his house, and, like, he left, like, not everything, I don't think, but, like, he left some shit, like the tapes. And he actually left Cheryl there, and I thought that was interesting, too. But I think that's part of, like, they talk about her being a sex dungeon. But,
like, I feel like those guys are being, like, very serious, like, trying to figure out who he was. And then some of the scenes with the guy were so, like, theatrical and over the top that it kind of, I don't know, like, it kind of seemed a little disconnected to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, this movie was like that. There was, like, some things where I was, like, totally into it, and then some things I wasn't, you know, so. Right. I don't know, it's strange. Here's another foreign guy.
Yeah, Dr.
He
Arnold
looks like
Montefort.
he's a vampire.
Yeah, I hate to out him, but he's got pretty serious hairpiece going on. Yeah, and they talk about like all the shit that was done to her. Like her teeth were all busted out and rotted, and like she had multiple fractures like all over, and
that none of them were allowed to be healed over. And
yeah,
he would just make it worse,
and, like refracture them and shit.
Yeah.
Of course, she's like malnourished. Her organs were sacrificed. So I mean, she was slowly like dying, whatever.
Yeah, and they always mention the sexual torture stuff, but they never say like. Well, I guess
electrocution of genitals, and he talks about other things too horrible to say. Yeah, they always like that's. I think that's one thing they're afraid of, like completely turning the audience away, like with bad taste if they talk too much about like all the raping and shit, you know.
Yeah.
But
so this part was the part that really fucking left me fucked up after the end of this movie.
Yeah, how come?
Because, like, when we get to it, but...
You talking about the part where they talk to Cheryl at the end?
Yeah, like... Because what ended up happening to her, like, she, like, turned, like, she fucking just fell for him, you know? Like, it's just so... And then the visual of how she looked, like, she just looked so gnarly, and, like, oh...
Well, I think to me, yeah, because we got about 10 minutes here, so I guess we should start wrapping it up. But I think because here they explain, you know, after begging the family, we got an interview with Cheryl and stuff, and you see her and she's batshit crazy because they talk about like she kept re-injuring herself while she was in the hospital and stuff.
I don't know, she looks so weird to me. Yeah. And then she just keeps saying, I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know what you want me to say. Because she was so used to him telling her what he wanted her to say. And just, like, she's just so mentally fucked up. Like, and then she looks so nasty and fucked up. And
they made her teeth all dirty and shit.
It just... And then her clothes are all weird and baggy on her. Like, I don't know, like...
It definitely looks like somebody who's, like, near death, whatever.
And it just reminds me of, like, the people who, like, easily get manipulated by cults and shit, like, and how, like, I mean, that's just kind of mental stuff. Like, this was physical and mental, and, like, after all the terrible shit that he put her through, like, what she ends up saying, and then when she lifts her hand up, oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, she says...
Oh, my God.
She says, you know, he loves me, he's going to come back for me. She goes to scratch her head, and she scratched her head with her nub.
Oh, my God.
Because he cut her hand off. I mean, that is like, yeah. Yeah, he loved me. Nobody ever... Well, sorry. No, she says, nobody ever lets me say it, but he did love me. And someday he's going to come back to me.
And just the way she looks so, like...
Yeah.
Oh, and that's her smile.
That's how I would say, this lady... I hope I'm not butchering her name. I think it's Stacy Chbosky. This lady is awesome. And then...
Oh, she ended up killing herself. Oh.
Yeah.
And then this close-up. Oh, my God. Like, oh.
Yeah.
She's so nasty looking.
Yeah, she kills herself 2 weeks after the interview. And she leaves a note saying how much she loved the guy. And it's just like, for her master. And like... This was like the gut punch to me the first time that I watched it. Because like I said, like as much as I heard about this movie over the years.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's really like the deep psychology aspect of it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I couldn't get into that career because it gets too much inside of me. Like I would not have been able to handle like dealing with real people like that because I just take it in too much, and like just thinking of like, you know, seeing her and what she went through and how good he was, quote unquote, at his job of like what he was trying to do, that he like manipulated her so hard to the where she fell in love with him. It's just like, oh my God.
And see, that's the thing, and like, yeah, like the foot, because you don't really know what you're seeing in the beginning, but the footage was him dragging her corpse out of the grave and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, like he has sex with the corpses and everything, so it's like that's the real story of the movie. Really, it's not really just all these people he randomly killed. Like, what's creepy is like the Cheryl character is like she was like his masterpiece of like mental manipulation, physical degradation. Yeah. He totally destroyed her mind to the point where like, I mean, he did what he did to her, and she loved him for it. Yeah. Like, it's so funny. And then to the point where she killed herself because she couldn't stand to be without him. Yeah. And then, like, when he digs her corpse up and shit, like that's what's really fucked up with movies, because not only what she mentally got programmed into, but the fact that that's how he really loves her dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's just going to, like, you know, have his way with the corpse forever. Yeah, here's the part where the guy's saying, like, oh, if you show this documentary in theaters, he'll see it as many times. And
he's like, we're going to keep an eye on all the screenings.
Yeah, all the screenings. Like, okay. I was like, well, you better play this shit in, like, 5 art houses so you can keep coming back, because, like, if this shit... And I think that was kind of that thing, like, you see in movies where it's, like, that are, like, meta movies like this, where it's just, like, he could be in the theater next to you. Like, I think that's why they put that in there. But again, like, they take the real video footage of when she was a kid and they end it on the freeze frame of that. And it just, like...
That, too, right there, where it's like, thank you to the families for sharing your story with us and all these victims. It seems real.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, the studio wanted to push it off as real. And then they do have the credits, which, Stacey like, Chbosky. You know, so whatever. But yeah, she's awesome. I wish she would do more than just the small part she's done or whatever. And, you know, I'm sure she probably would do more if people would hire her. But yeah, like, I mean, I know what you mean, and I felt the same way. You know, the first time I seen it is like, this movie's not perfect by any means, but I think when you think about the fact that it was done so low budget, and it was these guys' first movie, like, I give them credit for like having the balls, because like, there is some shit in the movie, I would say, to be shock value, to just kind of establish how, you know, the lengths this killer is willing to go and how, you know, mentally evil he is and all that kind of shit. But,
no, she was a producer.
Yeah, she was a producer. So, I mean, like, but I mean, that's like the performance she gave, and she was actually had input behind the scenes. I mean, that goes to show that, like, you know, like women, you know, creative, whether it be writers, directors, actresses, like, they're willing to make hardcore shit. You know what I mean? Like, like not every. I mean, they don't even make romantic comedies anymore, to be honest with you. But like not all women filmmakers just want to make that type of stuff. Like, you know, there's some women out there that'll tell you some, you know, show you some fucked up shit.
Well, the thing is, though, that, like, talking about like, oh, letting women direct stuff and be lead actors and all this stuff and stuff so they can tell their own story. Like, honestly, a man holding a woman captive, like, that's really happened. Like,
oh yeah,
in real life.
We see it all the time. Yeah, they're always finding those young girls in basements and shit.
So it's like that. She literally was telling their story, like, in a way, you know. So it's like, but you think anybody would ever think about that?
No. I mean,
so that's, I don't know. Not to get into, you know, our controversial topics, but it's just like, where the stories exist, they should be appreciated, and like, it shouldn't just be a thing where like, oh, only if this person does things it should matter, you know. It's like, it should just matter anytime somebody does it. Like, it just, I don't know, it's weird.
But it's like
selective listening and watching for people to like, only if their stuff matters. Only this woman who's directing this Marvel movie matters. Like,
well, exactly.
It's weird. Like,
it's
this
like,
story is more like interesting. Like you can imagine that those girls who are still alive now went through this. You know, like, what are their lives like now? Like, it's weird.
Exactly, and it's like kind of a thing of you know, oh, we want this kind of thing, but we really meant we just want that kind of representation in Marvel and Star Wars. It's like, no, it's like, and like, just to film in general, and that's why I said, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be condescending if anybody's listening to this and they've seen the movie and they don't like it. I mean, it's perfectly fine. Like, this is the type of movie that is, in all fairness, is probably 99.9% of most film goers, like, not their cup of tea, and I get that. But the reason that I like this movie, and I like the fact that it exists, besides being like you know, like a little independent whatever type thing, which, you know, I'm always attracted to those type of movies. But like, you know, when it comes to like horror, like, you know, my favorite horror character of all time is like Freddy Krueger and stuff. So like, I like that kind of like theatrical, you know, bubblegum pop horror type stuff too. But like, even beyond horror, just filmmaking in general, like, even though this movie doesn't do everything perfect or everything great, like I've been talking about through the whole commentary, is I like how they spell countries. I don't know if you noticed that at the end of the disclaimer.
No, here's the last one.
Yeah, there's like a last pop-up.
You can live as long as you don't blink.
Yeah. Like, this, he tells this lady, like, you can live as long as you don't blink. It's obviously like an outtake of the Poughkeepsie Tapes, but
does she blink? Does she blink?
I mean, you're supposed to blink like every few seconds.
She can't hold it.
She's holding as long as she can.
She can't hold it.
Oh, and then cut out. No, but like, getting back to what I was saying is like, you know, I'm not just talking about just the horror genre or like whatever. Just like films in general. Like, if you don't experiment, if you don't make weird stuff like this, even though it's not all like, you know.
Oh, now they have the boxes in the background on here.
Oh yeah, they do. I never noticed that as part of the poster. But like, if you don't really experiment and you don't like try to tell stories in new ways, or if you don't like cross those boundaries, because this movie does cross a lot of boundaries, like some for shock value. I think there's a lot of places that crosses boundaries in a way to like kind of provoke thinking, in all honesty, and kind of like talk about the human psyche and darkness and whatever. But it's like, if you don't make these kinds of movies, you know, experimental movies, low budget movies, whatever you want to call them, if you don't make these kind of movies, you kind of like, if you only make the straight ahead, easy to understand, easy to digest, big budget, theatrical and whatever movies, I think you kind of like lose out on what movies can do and what they really can be. Because as for like whatever flaws we've talked about while we're like, you know, whatever, talking about this movie, the truth is, after the first time I seen it, after the first time you saw it, it's stuck in our heads. And
again, this is my second time seeing it, and I was bringing up a lot of the flaws and stuff and kind of laughing about stuff. But right now, I don't want to walk outside of this room right now by myself. Like, I'm like fucking creeped out right now again. Like, so it's like, and that's the thing. Like, to me, the scariest horror movie that could exist is one about people.
Yeah. Because
people scare me the most. To me, that's the scariest thing in the world. So, like, that's why Saw is my favorite horror franchise, because it's about a man. I mean, we ended up learning,
all about him
why
or
he
whatever.
did, yeah. But I mean, he like took advantage of people's, lives, like the things that they did, and like he manipulated people, and it's like, in the end, you kind of end up liking him, but it's just, you don't know that at first,
Right.
So it's like, and just like the kind of creative ways that he ended up torturing them to make them appreciate life, it's like, that's some fucked up shit, man. And only a human would like do that. And what's scarier too is that somebody who's watching that, it's possible for them to be like, oh, this is a good idea, it's true, and they can fucking do it,
if they're already on that wavelength. Like, I mean, honestly, like, maybe that was part of why this movie didn't get released. They're like, well, what if somebody thinks like, oh, I could videotape myself doing this shit too? Like, you just never know.
Little did they know people were gonna videotape themselves doing fucking everything and like driving cars with doors open and shit.
Yeah, little did they know, even after they shelved this movie, that World Star Hip Hop. But I mean, the guys, like, because immediately, like, after this was supposed to come out, I mean, obviously this getting, like, whatever in the news industry, obviously industry people saw it, because then they went and directed, like, Hollywood movies with big budgets, like, right? So it's like, usually you make your independent movie that makes a lot of money, and they're like, oh, we have to look into these guys and get them to make movies. Like, they didn't even get, like, the box office. They just, like, people were like, oh, you guys made Poughkeepsie Tapes, we saw it. So, I mean, there was enough in this movie, so to speak, to launch the directors' careers.
For Paranormal Activity, like, what happened to those people? Like, they didn't really make. Didn't they make one thing or something, like, outside of this franchise?
Yeah, like the director's back to like financial whatever. Like, he totally left movies behind. The actors, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's like, but yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, it's this what creeps me out the most is that, and it's what I say about everything, I just want movies about people again. Like, we've been so inundated with movies about fantasy stuff that it's like, there's no movies about people anymore. And to me, like, when I see a movie about people, like, I fall for it so hard, because it's like what I desire the most. So it's like, even with its flaws here and there, like, while watching it, like, because a lot of the stuff I was noticing while we were watching it again this time, when I was describing, like, oh, but the way he's acting is so weird in this scene, Yeah. But I was still sitting there like, oh, fuck, this is fucked up. You know? Like, it doesn't completely take me out of it every time. So, like, even the stuff when he's, like, creeping through the house, and, like, how I was saying, like, oh, you could see his face in the closet. But then, like, after that scene was over and it was dark, and then they showed him coming out of the door, I was like, oh, fuck, that looks scary. Like, it's just, I don't know. It has a weird effect of like making you not like stuff, but then you still are, like, in the mood of it. Yeah. So. And I really think it's the style that it's made in.
Yeah, and I mean, the
keeps you in it.
Yeah, and the fact that, like I said, like, you can, there's a lot of movies, whatever, it costs a lot of money to make, made a lot of money at the box office. You watch them, they're fun, good escapist entertainment, but you just forget them. I mean, how many times have we gone to the theater and it's like the next day you feel like, damn, I don't remember anything about that movie, you know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, like, I couldn't tell you what the fuck happened in Endgame, really, and that shit was like 5 hours long.
Yeah.
But it's like this, like, there's visual, like, 2 or 3 visuals that, like, I was thinking about, because you've been like, oh, we're gonna record it. You've been so excited about recording it. You've been like talking
I've been
about
hyped
it.
about Poughkeepsie.
Like, every time you would talk about it, like, seriously, like, those scenes would flash in my head, and I'm like, ugh. Like, I'd get like this weird like like nervousness in my chest, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to watch it again. Like, so it's like, it really had an effect on me.
Because I mean, like, I never know how you're gonna react. Because I mean, like, we used to watch a lot more movies together than we do now. So like now there's like certain things like I'm dying to expose you to, like Gentleman Broncos and like this. So like I never know, like, like when we first started watching this the other night, I almost was like getting the feeling like, okay, I don't know how this is playing with you. Like, I didn't know if it was something that, like, after 30 minutes you'd be like I'm leaving, whatever.
Well, it's hard too though, because when we're watching a movie with the intention of doing this show, I don't want to react out loud too much when I'm watching the movie, because I want to save it for when we're recording, because I don't want to, like, if I say something during their first watching of it, then I'm probably not going to say it during the recording because I've already expressed it.
Right.
So, like, that's why I want to, like... I was, like, pretty much dead silent when we were watching it the first time. And so this time, like, that's why, like, when we were seeing the visuals, I was like, oh my god, I was getting all sick because I didn't express it out loud the first time we watched it. Yeah. So that's really, like... And that's why I was telling you too, like, I don't really like when you talk to me about the movies in advance because I want to take it in for my first time.
Yeah, you don't want me to, like, color your opinion of it kind of thing.
Yeah. And I'm like that with anything. Like, that's why I don't read reviews of movies, and especially now because you say all they do is tell you about the movie. They don't really give you an opinion or whatever. But, like, I don't read any of that stuff. I don't read a summary of a movie before it comes out. I always go into a movie and take it in for myself with my feelings. And that's what ends up happening with us when we go see movies, and a movie that everybody's fucking going crazy about, we're like, huh? Like, we don't get it. Like, this shit sucks.
Like, what got... Yeah, it's like when you were sitting in the theater eating your popcorn, whatever, like, what just made you so excited?
Yeah, and then movies that everybody's like, this movie's gonna suck. It sucks. Don't go see it. When we go see it, we're like, holy shit, this movie's awesome.
I know.
So it's like...
Well,
for me, it's usually because I haven't read anybody's opinions about it. Right. I don't let anybody's, like, opinions get into my head. I just take it in for myself, and that's usually how I end up liking or disliking stuff.
Yeah, I have to say too, like, for me, you know, like I think if you're a casual moviegoer, meaning you like movies but you don't watch a ton of movies, I think it's easier sometimes to like some of the more mainstream stuff. But it's like, for me, it's like I've seen so many movies to the point where, like, a lot of the movies that come out in the theaters now, I'm like, I feel like I've seen this movie 4 or 5 times. Like, I can watch it, but it's not going to excite me. Where like I get more turned on by, like, stuff like this, where it's like, it's like I can't name you 5 movies exactly like the Poughkeepsie Tapes. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, to me, the Poughkeepsie Tapes is like its own thing. And, like, you know, even when I try to make movies, I end up making movies that nobody really likes because I'm not like, oh, let me make the movie that everybody would like to see. It's like, I make the movie that, like, has so much weird shit in it that, like, not that it's weird, but it's, like, just a different approach because I'm trying to make something that's, like, different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, like, I mean, the movie's, like, long over with, whatever. But just one last question that I just wanted to ask you, like, obviously, a major studio bought this. They had a chance to put it out, you know, in the theater. They were planning to, but then they just got cold feet for whatever reason. I mean, they could have just put it out on DVD back in the day because, I mean, 2007 DVDs were still selling a lot. It could have done well on DVD. They chose to be like, nah, for whatever reason, we don't want really our name associated with this movie. But, like, do you think, you know, knowing what this movie is and what's in it, like, do you think it's actually, like, kind of the responsibility of real film studios to actually put movies like this out to expose people to new and original stuff?
Well, yeah, like, I feel like that's a whole conversation. To me, I feel sad that movie studios have become so, streamlined, so to speak. Like, they just seem like they all kind of want to release the same thing, and, like, they're not really in the business anymore to take risks on something that's different. So, I mean, back in the day, all kinds of movies used to exist, you know? Right. It's like, and those wouldn't have existed if those studios didn't exist, you know? And it's like, there were a lot more studios back then. Like, there's, like, a lot of old logos that we used to, like, Hollywood Pictures or whatever it was called.
That are all gone.
Buena Vista, when it came to, like, kids' movies, and, like... And those kids' movies were, like, good, innocent kids' movies, like, with kids having adventures. It wasn't, like, smart-ass kids. It was, like, you know, just fun stuff that a kid could, like, have an adventure for 90 minutes, you know? Like, none of those studios exist, so we don't have movies like that anymore. It's like... So it is a responsibility of movie studios.
Yeah, like, only 3 movie studios exist now, I think, and they pretty much all... They each have their... style of movie that they put out, and they just put out that style of movie, and, like, You know, I mean, because there's always people making original, weird, independent movies, and like studios can just buy them at like film festivals and then put them out. Like even
it's always been like that.
Yeah, like even if it's only out like whatever on digital, on Blu-ray, whatever, like they can do it, and like they just choose not to. They're like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as well versed in the movie industry as you are, because I am a viewer that just wants to watch movies, and like honestly, like it doesn't take much to like sell me a movie. Like, just give me a good trailer that lets me know what the story is, but not telling me the ending of the movie.
Right.
Like, get my interest, but don't let me know like everything the way trailers do now. Like, you don't even really need to watch the movie anymore. You could just sit there and watch the 2-minute trailer, and you don't have to watch the movie. But like, I want to see a good movie. I'm in it. That's what I'm in it for. You've already got my attention by saying you got a movie.
Right.
Okay, so like, you know, I'll be willing to watch a trailer or whatever, and like, if it's my kind of movie, then I'll choose to watch it. If not, like this, if I would have seen a trailer for it, I probably wouldn't have chosen to watch it myself. Yeah. But like, you know, there's a lot of movies that do seem like the Ben Affleck movie where he is the alcoholic. Like, obviously we're familiar with him. I really love his work. You know, I love watching him as an actor. So, like, I'm already sold, you know, like, and then knowing his background, it's like, but I didn't know what the ending of that movie was going to be from the trailer. So it's like, and that's a dramatic movie, and it's about people. Like, it's just, that's the kind of stuff I want. And I want the studios to care about that again, because, like, everybody's so, like, the big thing now is of how, like, you know, people aren't in touch with each other's feelings anymore, I guess, kind of. And like, oh, we don't understand the woman's experience. We don't understand the black person's experience and all that. And it's kind of like, well, how about if you give us some movies that are about those so we can understand, you know? Like, help us feel that stuff, because it needs to be felt, not just, like, told, like, to just tell us about it. Women struggle, okay. Yeah, black people are struggling, okay. It's like, that doesn't mean anything.
Don't just make Star Wars and be like, this fixes it all, because you're not going to really learn a woman's struggle through watching Star Wars.
Yeah, you know? So it's like, I mean, those women weren't struggling because they thought they were the shit, but it just, and the movie studios had that power to do that. They had that power, like, even historical movies, like, we don't even have those anymore.
Yeah, historical
and actually when I shouldn't say that because people hated Green Book, but it just... It's like, now I only will watch this movie if it's like this. And it's just kind of like, well, why don't you open your mind, like, to the world? But now that's not available for people to look at to watch anymore. So I say movie studios used to be really important, and now they're not. And that's sad. Like, that's the worst to me.
I mean, I always say it didn't help as time went on, whatever. Movie studios got bought up by bigger and bigger companies. And they took less and less risks. But, like, I feel like the movie studios in the old days, like, they would give you, like, the popular shit, but then they would also kind of sneak stuff in throughout the year to kind of open your mind or show you, like, different types of things, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what's really missing from today's studios is, like, they're all kind of just, like, whores now.
Yeah, because, like, you would have movies, like, you'd have the rom-coms, and those would be, like, for young adult women, and then you'd have, like I said, the young kid adventures, like Spy Kids, and then you'd have, like, the cool guy movies with, like, Al Pacino or Robert De Niro doing, like, awesome, you know, crime fighting, or...
Like Ronin, Heat, and all that shit.
Or, like, bank robberies, or, you know, whatever, like, but tough guy stuff that was for, you know, obviously men and, like, really whatever age. But, like...
Yeah, literally, I remember when a movie would come out, like a male-oriented movie, and every man 15 to 65 wanted to see that movie.
And then you'd have the men's action movies where it was literal ass-kicking the whole time and guns blowing up and shit. And not in the cheesy Michael Bay way. It was like the real ass-kicking way.
Legit,
so it's like, like with the Schwarzenegger and Stallone and like Jean-Claude Van Damme and like all them guys, like, and even younger, like now Jason Statham, and like all those guys are gone. Like, they're not allowed to like be anything anymore. And when they do try, people laugh at them and make fun of them, and it's just like, why? Like, these guys were fucking awesome, like, heroes back in our days. Like, why did that go away just because they're older? Like, they're still fucking badass and awesome.
That's a discussion for another day, but just the mold of what a hero is supposed to be now is like...
But anyways, like, my point was that we used to have a variety of movies that would come out for every age, and each movie would be for a specific group of people. Now, one movie is for everyone, and it just... That one-size-fits-all thing, it just makes things boring.
Yeah, like, I mean, I totally think this movie, Poughkeepsie Tapes, would not belong in, like, you know, the movie, whatever, theatrical atmosphere today. But, I mean, 2007, it should have been. I guess maybe that's when they started losing their balls. But, I mean, this movie would really, like, it would really fit in, like, around 1997. You know what I mean? Like, when, like, around a couple of years, like, around the time, like, when, like, David Fincher's Seven came out and all this type of movies, where it's, like, people were, like, there was a thrill to go to a multiplex and see something that was kind of subversive, you know what I mean?
I think even the people who were, like, exposed to, like, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, or I Know What You Did Last Summer, and all those movies, like, those teen horror movies that used to exist, like, I would see them being into this, too, because it's, I mean, the girl's young, you know, like, it's a legit, like, kind of semi-legit killer that's, like, going after her and stuff, so, like, it's kind of like that, too.
For sure. So...
Now that we did a whole new podcast after the movie ended.
I was going to say, but you know, just this movie, watching it, thinking about it, and really thinking about what happened to it, like the actual movie, like, you know, how it didn't come out. It just got my mind going in a bunch of different ways, but, you know.
For the death of the movie industry.
Yeah, for sure. So, but anyway, just to wrap up, this is our last episode for August. I know if you guys are regular listeners, you've heard this before, but I wanted to say it one last time. In a couple of days here, actually, it will be the 5-year anniversary of the movie Graveyard.
Dang.
Yeah, we got over
You're old.
Yeah, movie Graveyard it's a graveyard. It's supposed to be old. It's supposed to be dusty.
Baby.
Yeah.
You got many years to go.
But, yeah, I mean, you know, it's like... There's been times when we've not been so regular with the episodes, and enlisting you and enlisting a couple other new people has helped kind of rejuvenate the show. Just having people to do it with has kind of been the staggering whatever block in the past. There's a couple years where, you know, I didn't keep a regular schedule, but I really enjoy doing this. I'm very happy with the download numbers, which show me that you guys are listening. And I've gotten a lot of feedback lately, like in the last month, like or two, but really like the last month, to let me know that there are real people out there really watching this, or not watching, but listening to this podcast. This podcast was
and watching, because they're watching and listening.
Yeah, they could be watching them. That is true. That's another thing too. Is when I started this, they're like, nobody will really watch the movie along with it. I get surprised how much feedback I got that people actually do watch the movie if they have a copy. But yeah, it's you know, I started this with a mission to just, you know, let the tradition of, you know, and granted, there's a million movie podcasts out there, I get it. But, you know, just to shine a light on these older movies. Originally started out, the focus was 1980s movies that kind of, you know, people weren't talking about anymore, but we expanded it to the 90s, and I guess technically now, like, in 2000s, we've done a couple movies. But yeah, it's just to shine a light on stuff, because, like, you know, just to pay tribute to really how great movies can be and, like, what they can do. And, you know, on an entertainment value, obviously, but how they can make you think. So, yeah, with it being an anniversary and stuff, I just want to take the second here to thank you for being a part of the show.
Thanks.
Yeah. You definitely, you know, like I said, like the really, for the most part, the really weird stuff that I can't rope anybody else into watching, I can force you to watch. So I appreciate you not only doing that, but taking that role in stride. And, you know, just like perfect example of that would be this movie, you know, going down roads you normally would not go down to, you know.
I would watch something like this. I'd say the perfect example is Gentlemen Broncos.
Yeah, but that was for our other show.
Oh, still.
Yeah.
You made me watch it.
Yeah. So again, thank you to the listeners for helping us go for 5 years. You know, it's encouraging when you see people downloading the show. Obviously, it encourages me to, you know, rope in all these friends of mine to do these episodes. And, you know, and it makes me feel good, too, because it makes me feel like the show is accomplishing its goal of, you know, keeping these movies alive. Because one thing, to me, movies are timeless because you can watch a movie from 20 years ago. I mean, perfect example is we're watching a movie from 10 years ago, and it's giving us effect. Movies are not like, they don't have an expiration date on them. You can watch a 50-year-old movie and it can just, like, totally hit you on the inside. And to me, there's no such thing as an old movie, you know, honestly.
Yeah, I pretty much get a feel of some sort when I watch TCM channel with all those old movies. Like,
yeah,
I'm always so amazed at how pretty they look.
So thank you to you guys for you know, helping that become a reality. If you're on Instagram, we've recently started an Instagram, post a couple of things there a week. It's not nonstop. If you follow us, it's I think it's the Movie Graveyard Podcast on Instagram. You'll get some heads up there sometimes of what movies we'll be covering next. So yeah, so check us out. I'm having fun doing Instagram. It's a lot more fun than Facebook, I'll say that.
You're getting fancy with technology.
Yeah.
I don't even have an Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's pretty cool, I gotta say. And people follow you out of nowhere, so it's not pulling teeth like Facebook and everything where you're begging people to like your page and that stuff. People just automatically like your shit if you post stuff. So, So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you again. Boo. And I guess we'll see you all guys soon back here in the Movie Graveyard.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.